Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. So this presentation demo is about creating content and manipulating further in virtual reality. And this is just to show that developers or programmers are not the only users for Unity. Like you've seen it a lot in our keynotes and our recent talks, that we're trying to make Unity as accessible to everybody. And it's not just people who know about video games or are programmers. It can be anybody, artists, designers, traditional artists, kids as well. Kids want to make games. They want to share what is in their crazy imaginative heads, right? And there's been loads of stuff out like recently with VR, like creating artwork, like Tiltbrush and Blocks and Quill and Medium. And that's where this is kind of beginning from. And then how you can take that into Unity to manipulate further and get what's in your head out there into a game engine. And that is now possible with someone with zero technical skills. And that's what I want to show you today. And for me, it's a medium that's like so intuitive. Like I've got a 6-year-old little boy, and I'll put him in Tiltbrush, and I'll say, there's one controller, pull the trigger, and paint. And he literally can understand that instantly and start doing that. And we've been kind of stuck to ancient input technology for such a long time. Like the keyboard itself is over 110 years old, and the mouse is maybe like 30 years old, and people are still adamant that that's how they're going to work in the future. And I really, really question that, and I don't think it is. And I think that we can adopt this technology further to enhance our daily lives. You may realize here that, you're like, why is that a wonky slide? And you realize that I've actually got the headset plugged into Unity, and my slides are in VR. So this session is, I'm hoping, going to be all with me with the HMD on. So I've got a good friend called Torsten who spent 48 hours in VR, and he calls himself a VR naut now. So I kind of want to join him on that journey and see what we can do and how we can turn VR into our daily lives as much as possible. So yeah, I'm just literally gonna shove the headset on. There's some good-looking people in the audience as well that I'm not going to be able to look at for the rest of the time. But here goes. I've also got like a stage behind me that I could fall off. So if I disappear for a second, that is why. Sweet. So like I say, I want to talk about creating content the virtual reality way. This is me, Josh Naylor, and I'm a technical evangelist for Unity. And it's as preachy as it sounds. So my job is to literally go around and meet our community, to do technical demos, to basically preach Unity as much as possible. I've just gone backwards. Yeah. So I've been at Unity for 3.5 years now. And now I lead the Evangelism team for EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And you may witness the Jon Snow picture. I'm actually from the north of England. So lots of friends tell me that I've got a lot of wildling friends, that I need to go back to the north, to the wall, and keep protecting it there instead of gallivanting around the world and talking about Unity. So yeah. That's what I do. I love doing it because I get to meet people like you every single day. It's not just here at Unite. It's literally every single day, different country every week, meeting developers. So this is kind of one of Unity's big philosophies, is solving hard problems. And sometimes it sounds a bit cliche, but when we're talking about stuff internally and we say, what is a user's problem, and then how can we solve it? It's literally what we ask ourselves every single day. And I know that myself because I use Unity every single day. And one of the main problems is Unity for artists. And this is the first image that I found on Google Images when I typed in artist. So it's up to you if you want to agree that that's what it is. And I visit a lot of game studios, and they squabble artists and developers and argue all the time because their workflow is just so different. You get artists in one room, then you get the programmers in a deep, dark dungeon with no lights, working crazy hours, and literally the programmers will give maybe the artist will give a programmer like an FBX on a USB stick, and like, there you go, put it in Unity. And you're literally taking out that whole creative process that the creative people can put stuff into the engine. Just giving it to a program and like, oh, there you go, you implement it. There's so much more to that pipeline where the artist or developer can be involved. And then we need to think about how are we going to make games in the future Like, we look at how we're making games now. We've got a roadmap for the next year or two. How are we going to make games 5, 10 years' time? How is my 6-year-old little boy or this little girl with the VR headset on going to be creating games? And then one of the big issues for me when I'm developing a lot of VR content to share with you guys is literally taking the headset off, playing around, putting it back on, testing it, taking it off. It's a huge workflow problem, one that we really want to solve. And everyone's still here, which is good, he's not left. So Unity Labs is a division of Unity that looks and tries to solve those issues. It's an area where we look at game development in the long term and thinking, how can Unity solve these problems now or in the short-term future? So this team, there's one in San Francisco, one in Paris. I'm going to highlight most of the San Francisco stuff today because they're looking at virtual reality and VR workflows and XR. And yeah, they're looking at what we can do and how we will use VR and AR and XR into the future. I'm sure many of you have tried at least one of these VR DCCs before. They're really awesome. I'm going to mainly talk about Tiltbrush and a little bit of Blocks today. Hopefully you saw the Blocks talk this morning from the Google guys. And there's Blocks being demoed on the expo floor. But these content creation tools allow literally anybody to create artwork. You don't need to know 3ds Max or Maya. You don't need to know Photoshop or Illustrator. You don't need to know the traditional content creation tools. You literally go in. Like I said, a 6-year-old can grab a controller and paint. And then most of these tools are made with Unity. So you're using a Unity-made application to create content to then take back into Unity to create a Unity-made application. Just take a second to kind of take that in. But it's pretty cool. And that's why I love it. So I'm kind of like focusing on my time on making games with content I've created in VR as well. So now I want to quickly go into Tiltbrush, show you how to import something in, how we can take it into Editor VR and then manipulate it further. So I'll quickly jump in there. Tiltbrush already says it's running. No. I always knew something could go wrong. Oh, man. Let's try again. Yes. Awesome. So straight away, I know what I'm going to do. I've got my palette, and I've got a controller to paint stuff. And it's that intuitive where I just say, here you go, paint. Do you remember the first time that you tried MS Paint when you was like 5 years old? And you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is kind of what I feel like when I first tried this as well. All right, it's really simple, really intuitive. Like, oh, I can change colors. I can do maybe a big heart. Sweet. What's really awesome is that much, much better artists than me can create stuff and share it with the world. So I'm just going to load in this spaceship thing from an artist called Liz Edwards. So you may have seen some of her stuff on Twitter or our ArtStation, and she's really amazing. So I'm loading in the sketch, and it's literally showing it in real time what she did, or I can speed it up. So you can see where she's painting away. I'm just going to hold the trigger for a quick load, and it's going to load the full scene for me. Awesome. This is really amazing. You can scale around, look really close in. It's pretty sweet. And I can even add to this and then export as I wish. But I'm not going to do that because it looks too good, and I will just ruin it. What I'm going to do is use a new thing in the labs section. So we're going to go into labs. Got a thing here. Don't want to grab it. And it's a section called export. So we literally export the project, and it goes into our Tiltbrush folder on our desktop, and then we have an FBX version of this whole scene. All right? And then what we can do is bring it into Unity. So I'm just going to close this down, and I would pull it into my project folder, which I've done already. Hooray. And because I've got Tiltbrush Toolkit installed, which is just a Unity package, we bring in Tiltbrush Toolkit, and it detects all of those textures that we've brought in with the FBX. If we brought it in without Tiltbrush Toolkit, then it would just have no textures on. It would just be like a gray model, which happens with a lot of the other DCC packages. But this applies them all naturally, which is pretty sweet. So now that we've actually got that in there, how can we bring it into Unity and use EditorVR to manipulate it further? So I've imported the EditorVR package from our GitHub. Go on Window. I'm going to launch EditorVR. So this is just a scene from a game called Antigravity, which we did for the training day yesterday, and we're going to be releasing at a later date. So I worked with these guys to get their assets to create something awesome. So as you can see, it's very much Tiltbrush-esque, where I can pull the triggers on the inside and move around. I can go like Death Star sized, or I can zoom into like building. I can go right down to like microscopic level and move around my scene. And I'm doing this. This is actually in the editor. This is not in game view. I've not pressed play for the game view. This is all in the Unity editor. And I can grab things and move it around. So I can either point like a raycast and select things. And then I've got my gizmo tool. So I'm going up on the y-axis. I've got X and Y. And then Z. So I can move that around. Or I can literally go up to it. And you can see the cone here. This is just a selection tool. So I can grab it, move it around, scale it up, put it back in my scene. Cool. I can grab other things. I'm like, oh, I want to make this a bit better. So I'm going to grab this block here, put it over the top. I want to grab this whole track thing. I don't like it. So I'm going to go onto my controller. And with the analog stick, we've got these various different tools. So we've got things like global rotation. We can lock that, the layer, select the full parent, delete, paste, copy, cut, clone, undo, or redo. So I'm going to delete that because I don't want it anymore. And I can just play around my scene. I want to make that bigger, so I'm just going to grab that. Cool. And you can get a really good feel of it, because then you can move straight in, and then you can be like, oh, what would I be like if I was just my character on the floor? So this is what it would look like, my ship going through the level. Like, oh, actually, I still don't like it. Let's move back out and grab some stuff, make that bush a bit bigger. Sweet. Cool. So this is just an asset that was already in there. But what if I want to get assets that are already in my project folder, like my Tiltbrush model or like a blocks model? So on this model here, I can point at my Unity logo, press select, and I've got this toolbar here. And I want to click my project view. And I can see every asset that is in my world right now. So I'm just going to close that. I'm going to bring it up. There we go. And wherever I move in the scene, that just stays there nicely. So I can make it move in. And I can use the analog sticks to move along the X and Y axis as well. So I can move that, left axis, right one to scale around, go up and down. And then we also have just pure blink locomotion as well. So we can just press Y, and then we can just do. So lots of different forms of locomotion for people's needs. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go scenes to my demo. I'm going to get a hover car, a model, a prefab, sorry. And you can just go for that. And then I can pull this closer and actually render out what I want to see. So, OK, ship. Cool. I can grab that. I'm going to place it in my world. It's gone over there. And that's quite small. So I want to try and grab it and make it bigger. That's the wrong thing. There we go. And now it's got some line trails with a shader error, but it looks cool. And then let's move around my scene. So I'm going to do this, grab it here. Where shall I go? Let's go down. Let's put him at this there. Sweet. So you can kind of plan your camera shots as well. Like you imagine setting up like a movie or an animation. And actually, yeah, I want a camera shot here as it comes underneath the tunnel and on the track. Sweet. That's nice. And what I can also do is I can get rid of this. I can grab that, whoops, and remove it at the side here. I want to see some information in the inspector about my ship because I want to change something. So I'm going to go Inspector. And now I can select the ship and I can change things about it. So say if I want to change the local scale, I can pull this and my keyboard will appear. Not in a very good position, but it's okay. And either I can point at it, so I can do the raycast, or I can bring it down, and as soon as you lay it down, you can see it transition, and it's more a pointer effect instead. So I can say local scale on this. Oh, it's moved again. Great. Whoop. And then it can be more like point down, which you can type a lot faster but less accurately. So that's pretty sweet. Cool. So now, like I say, I want to actually bring in my blocks and my Tiltbrush model. Projects. I'm going to go, where did I put it? Scenes, Tiltbrush, and then here it is. Cool. Let's get rid of these. We don't need this anymore. And you can kind of see what was, when we go inside, we can view everything around. It's all got its textures. It all looks pretty nice. But I don't want this outer layer. So I'm going to go to my hierarchy. And I can see everything that's in my scene. And I can lock the pieces if I want to. This is called Spaceship. And I can see how this is made up in my hierarchy. All right, so I'm just going to deselect that. I'm going to say this one would be great. But I don't want it anymore. So I can go to my toolbar, and I'll say, OK, I want to delete that. And I deleted the wrong thing. Great. What did I delete? Whoop. OK, let's go here. And then I'm going to go to my inspector. I should have left that open. Move this around. And then always works really well when you don't do it when anyone's there. OK, that's fine. No worries. And then what I want to do is look at not just my scene as it is, but have a look at the mini-map as well. So I'll go here, and I'll go MiniWorld. And this is the view of everything here. So I'm going to move that there. I'm going to bring it in, zoom out. And what you'll notice, there's a little ball with the headset on, and you'll also see the controllers. And that is where I am in the world. So as I come in, I'll get smaller. As I go bigger, I'll go. And then I can grab this. Whoop. Not that. And move the whole mini world. Reset myself. If it wants to do it. So I can zoom right in and see the actual track. I can see these buildings. And I can grab these buildings here, and that will actually affect them in the world as well. So if I grab this building, so as you can see, as I affect it in the mini world, it moves around in this world as well. So if I want to position this over here instead, cool. I maybe want to grab, zoom further in. Whoops. And I want to grab this piece here. As I pick it up in the mini world, you can see in the game view, it's moving around. And you can have more of these, so you could have them at different angles, and you could pass them between each other. It's It's really, really sweet. If we look at other things that we have, we've got the profiler. So we can look at actually what's going on in our scene. We can have locked object view, seeing what's locked, what's in our scene that's locked. We've got our snapping settings. I've disabled snapping here, but if I enable it again, it actually will not collide. Well, it does collide with everything else, so you can't put it inside because of the snapping differences. It only just goes on top and tries to fit around. We can do things like pivot or bounds or direct selection, whatever. And then we have primitive tools as well. So I can say, oh, what do I want here? I want a sphere. Bring it in. And you can draw whatever you want. So you imagine this for white boxing as well. If you want to just white box a really quick world in your virtual reality, essentially. Just grab it around, select this. Okay, cool. I want a cylinder. And it doesn't have to be VR games that you're doing this in either. Grab them in, move them around. Whoop. So it's really, really useful and really, really quick for prototyping, moving around, getting a really good feel for your level. Sweet. And then now I want to find the thing that I created in blocks as well, which I imported into my scene earlier on. And it just happened that I've been building stuff there without noticing as well. Cool. I'll go my project, bring in this, bring in my blocks. Got a dinosaur. We'll put him in, and here he is. Let's close this down. Don't fancy doing it. There we go. Make him bigger. Big ass dinosaur. Oh, he's really tiny. Let's grab him further. Boom. So we've got three different pieces of content that we've created here. We've got just generic content that we created with like 3ds Max. We've got some content we created with Tiltbrush, and we've got some content we created with blocks. And like I say, we can do this with AnimVR, with Quill, with Medium, bringing it in to the Unity engine to then manipulate further and get a really good sense of your scene. Like everything I've done here and everything I've put together could be done by my 6-year-old. And that's amazing to feel as though that kind of imaginative like power of a kid that age could build something like this and then put it together and then share it with the rest of the world. And I realized that I wasn't facing that way. I thought I was. No wonder my tracking was a bit off. Cool. And then we're working on other things, part of the labs team, to help not just game developers, but consumers as well. So this is a project called Carte Blanche. And this is, again, what the VR labs team are working in San Francisco. And this is a way for consumers to build worlds and have smart objects to put into those worlds. So if we put in a player, we put in an enemy, we could put all these different smart objects in and not have to code them, because we could do it maybe via visual scripting, or we can just do it just automatically, because these are the smart objects that we give them via a store or via an asset pack, and then they can just build the worlds that they choose to. So what's next for you guys? I really, really think you should go out and try and get access to a VR DCC. We've got blocks downstairs, so you could put them online and download them onto your phone, or to play with in Gear VR or anything like that. Just express yourself. Think of ways that we can show our imagination and not have to be clamped down to a keyboard and mouse, these ancient pieces of input. Download Editor VR from the GitHub, or check out the blog post. I should have had a scheduled tweet out going out at like 10 past, so yeah, it should be out now. And make and create and think of things that was not possible before virtual reality kind of came into our lives in a lot easier medium. So yeah, thank you very much for coming. I've been Josh Naylor. Feel free to ask any questions or reach me on my email or Twitter. Thank you very much for listening. And we still have people here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to get to the mic in the middle or meet me afterwards. I'm going to be here for the next 2 days. But yeah, cool. Any questions? Nope, cool. I'll just be out the side while the next talk happens, so feel free to come and ask stuff. Thank you.